How are the girls over there?
They're beautiful.
Beautiful? Okay. All right, how's everybody doing? Today we have a special guest. We have Reno here. Reno has a very interesting life he has lived. He has been in the Navy. He also has been, what I call it, living abroad as well too, since he was in the Navy. But also he's doing something interesting to help us out here in Southeast Texas, which he's writes for the Congress.
National Rights, Your Congressmen.
There you go. And can you tell us about you a little bit about yourself?
Well, my mother's originally from the area. She graduated St. Mary's in Orange in 1966. She was ready to elope, and her mother sent her up to Cape Cod to live with her best friend who had married a guy from there when he was working here down at DuPont. She met my father. They fell in love when she moved up north, and I lived up there until I was 19 and joined the Navy. I spent 4 years in the Navy. I'm a Desert Storm vet. Very passionate about this being the best place in the world.
Yeah, and thank you for your service too. Because it's I kind of probably wish I would have tried it as well too. Serve for the military and stuff like that, but I just never got around to it when I was younger. I think now I can't do it no more because I'm too old supposedly.
There's still ways you can help.
No, okay, yeah, that's true.
After I got out of the Navy, I ended up going to Massachusetts Maritime Academy in Buzzards Bay, Massachusetts, which is very similar to the Maritime Academy over at Texas A&M. I got my third mate's license, and I went to work deep sea. During that time, I spent a little over 6 years contracting to the United States Navy, working to move their cargo and stuff around the world. I like to joke that I got shot at more as a contractor than I did in Desert Storm. That laid a groundwork for a number of things. I ended up falling in love with a girl in Ukraine, and I moved there, and I spent 10 years living there. And
How did you like living out there?
I've traveled and been a number of places on the world. There are more things I think alike in how we live as people, although there are peculiarities and cultural differences that can get you in trouble rather quickly, no matter where you are.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing I've learned, if you learn please and thank you in a local language and mean it sincerely, it's going to get you over a lot of problems.
Well, yeah, I bet. And which other country you think you thought was the best country to live in other than the United States, you think?
I don't know. Each one's got a different sort of charm to it. The Eastern Europeans, especially the Slavics, they talk about how much they drink, but drinking is a social thing for them. So unlike a lot of us in the States who drink to get drunk, they drink to be social.
I heard about that. Yeah, over there, just drink, just to have a couple of drinks. Over here is where people just try to get just drunk.
They may end up drinking more, but if you open a bottle of vodka between friends and you each take a shot, then you have some sausage, you have some bread, you have some conversation, you wait a while, and then you do it more, and you keep going and keep going. And I remember I was at a wedding one night, and we sat up all night. We probably went through 4 or 5 bottles by the end of the night.
Oh, wow.
But it was still just being social. It wasn't to go stumble home.
And you say you lived in Ukraine for
just about 10 years.
10 years, yeah. And you got married there as well, too, huh?
I have a 16-year-old son that is actually trilingual.
Oh, really? Trilingual. That's nice right there. And how are the girls over there?
They're beautiful.
Beautiful? Okay. They look like, I'm guessing, Russian models or something like that, because I guess they're kind of almost same.
They are very particular about how they dress and how they look. And I think a lot of it's because so much work goes into it.
Yeah, so they dress more like feminine, I guess. They're not too out there, or.
Yeah, they still dress very feminine to impress the guys. Sometimes I struggle to say whether it's better than worse because they have cultural things that, even in their own country, the problems here are not really just one gender or the other. It's kind of a way we interact and how we've moved away from what forever we thought our culture was.
Yeah, yeah. I see, yeah. So you probably know a lot of what's going on with the Ukraine and the Russia war, whatever's going on over there, huh?
Yeah, I've got a lot of mixed feelings about it because firsthand is, we were taught as children, it takes two people to make a fight.
Yeah,
And when we were in school, if you got in a fight, it wasn't who started the fight, was you were both in trouble
yeah, yeah.
for having the fight.
Yeah, yeah, that's true, yeah.
And it seems a lot of what we do today, we try to blame one side or the other as opposed to getting the full story and figuring out what really happened.
Yeah. That's interesting because, like I said, I always kind of like want to travel. I travel around the U.S., but not worldwide and stuff. I had opportunity to go work worldwide. That was my first job. That first job would have been at Vietnam, but I passed it because they wanted me to move to Ohio, and I didn't see the point of that because I was just gonna be out the country for 3 months, then come back and for like a week or two, then have to move out again. So I didn't see the reason to move to Ohio.
Yeah, I get a lot of that because I've got some interesting stories because I've been in and around so many different places.
Mm-hmm.
But the funniest thing is now in my adult life, the longest time I've lived in any one place, one particular area,
Mm-hmm.
is since I moved to Texas 10 years ago.
Oh yeah.
And people say, well, you have such an interesting, amazing life. I said, I wish I had that life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, yeah, but you've lived here in Port Arthur, not you, but people I talk to, you've lived here in Port Arthur for your entire life. You have friends and relationships with people
Yeah.
that I will never understand because I have friends all over the world who have known me for really known me for a short segment of my life.
Yeah. That's the part right there. Is like you could be traveling, so it's gonna be fun for the time, but then when the fun stops, who's gonna be there? Okay. So they want the reason why I want you to bring you here because we want to talk about your national congressman or right to congressman.
National Right to Your Congressmen.
Okay. So tell us about that.
Well, my story is part of how I got here. I'm a Desert Storm vet, and I did spend all that time contracting for the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
I was also, in my adult life, I found out I was a smarter kid than I ever thought I was. Because when I had my son, and I went to go read The Hobbit to him at 8 years old, and I'm reading it,
Mm-hmm.
I had to call my mother up and say, Mom, did I really read this book when I was 8 years old?
And what she said, yes or no?
She says, well, yeah. She said, yeah, you know why? Because when you were 7, I left a psychology book on the couch. And when I came back, you were halfway through it.
Oh, wow. That's crazy right there.
But in part because of that, some people say I might be ideally suited for the role I have because I'm not really concerned what people think
Mm-hmm.
or what their opinions are. As long as you can tell me why you think the way you do,
Yeah.
we can sit down and have a conversation, even if we are opposites in what we believe.
Yeah.
And I can learn something from you, and maybe you can learn something from me on my viewpoint.
Yeah. Because of the way it all matters how you live through your life. That's how you're gonna see certain things and stuff like that.
Yeah. My experience is going to leave me in a different place of what I think is important and how I feel about things.
Mm-hmm.
And very few things are actually black and white, although today's politics try to make everything divisive.
Yeah.
You're either one side or the other. There's not enough room for that gray area in between where people can meet.
Yeah. Which is funny because like back in the past, I remember the Democrats, they were saying, okay, we gotta protect the walls and stuff like and things like that. But now it's like, okay, everybody just come in.
Yeah, and it's the same thing on a lot of the issues like abortion. Both sides have switched sides
Yeah.
on what they think is important about that.
Yeah.
There are reasons for that. The beauty of what I do is I don't have to get into that.
Mm-hmm.
The company I work for, what we're about is even civics. Most of us have forgotten it. I'm not sure sometimes if it's being taught in the schools because we hear everybody talking about the fact that America is democracy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a republic, and it was built as a republic.
Yeah.
So we could have different sides come together.
Yeah. Now, do you think that the reason why a lot of people think we're as a democracy is just because of what the media keeps on just saying that constantly?
Well, we all talk about self-affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
If we repeat something to ourselves often enough, we'll start to believe it.
Yeah.
We've even got the Munchausen syndrome that very often people that are abducted by somebody else
Mm-hmm.
become an advocate for them in the end.
Yeah. And for the people who don't know out there, what is a republic?
A republic is a nation that's actually built on laws. Our elected officials are elected in different manners for different reasons, but they aren't there to do the will of the people. They are there to do what is best for the people they represent.
Yeah. So the government work for us, right? Supposedly.
Well, essentially, historically, we created the government.
Yeah.
We created each of the individual states who are supposed to be responsible to us.
Mm-hmm.
And the states created, by agreement, the federal government. The federal government is responsible to the states and ultimately to us. Now, it seems some of that has become, and this is my view because of how we were formed. Now, if we want to change that, John Locke, a great thinker in the 1700s, said that people are ruled the way they are until they decide not to be.
Yeah.
If we want, we can decide to change that. But it's my firm belief that we're a nation of laws, and with those laws, we have a format we're supposed to follow.
Yeah. And the people who pick those laws are the ones we vote into to pick those laws for us, right?
Well, they are there to represent us.
Yeah.
But there's a really horrible statistic when you realize it. I live over in Orange County.
Oh, you do?
The last election, and Dade Phelan's up for election, and there's a lot of contention between Dade Phelan and David Covey. Now, in this environment, I'm not going to take sides, but the fact of the matter is despite all that contention, I think there are 54,000 registered voters in that district,
Oh, really?
and approximately 9,000 of them voted.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah,
in
the
any
turnouts.
given election, even here in Port Arthur,
Yeah.
what are the turnouts for most of the elections?
Some people don't even know when the elections is because everybody's kind of in their own life trying to make it.
But these are the people we're putting up to make decisions
Yeah, exactly.
for us. And this is partially my opinion, but unfortunately for most people, their involvement in what's happening ends at the ballot box.
Mm-hmm.
And being a politician is, even a state politician, it takes a lot of time. And it can be difficult to get in front of their constituents, the people they represent. And their constituents aren't just the voters are the ones that put them there.
Yeah.
But every member of our communities is a constituent, and they have to represent them. But if they don't know how we feel on the issues, who do they have to listen to? Those people with money in their wallets that walk in their door every day.
Yeah, yeah.
Do they represent us? Do they not?
So that's where you come in, right?
That's where we come in. We have a wonderful service. We were founded in 1958 on the idea, and we mostly target small businesses because, one, they're the movers and shakers in this community,
Mm-hmm.
and they are the ones most quickly affected. We talk the trickle-down effect.
Yeah.
Changes in the State House, changes in Congress are going to immediately affect a lot of different businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And both sides of the aisle talk about how disingenuous the media is. Nobody's really quite happy with what's going on in the media.
Yeah.
And if you want to know what's going on, it's not one side or the other. I got to go watch this one. I got to go watch this one. I got to go watch a third one. I got to go figure out what this one's saying. Maybe I'm going to go listen to a couple of podcasts to figure out what's really going on in my legislation.
Yeah.
Now, you're a busy man. How much time do you have to do that?
Man, luckily, sometimes at work I have time where if I'm busy just sitting on a computer, I could actually listen to the podcast, and so everybody don't have to worry about anybody bugging me unless something comes up.
But even then, does it have your full attention?
Yeah, exactly. I just have it's just there in the background. I may pick some things here and there, but not the whole thing.
So what my company has been doing for 66 years now, and we do this with the help of our membership to make sure that we're staying up to date with it. We've got Congress covered. We've got a full-time staff that covers the bills coming out of Congress.
Okay.
And those that are going to affect our members,
Mm-hmm.
which generally kind of fall into 4 categories.
How many members you guys have? Usually?
I'm not privy to that amount. It changes every
Oh,
single
it
day.
changes. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But the more, the better, right?
Yeah. We've got finances, freedom,
Mm-hmm.
faith, and family.
Yeah.
I don't care what your leanings are in either one of those. Those are generally the 4 things that are important to
Yeah.
all of us.
Yeah.
And what we do is when those key bills come out, our research staff goes and looks at the bills, researches them, and says, hey, sends about to our membership and says, this is what the bill is.
Mm-hmm.
These are the facts of what is in that bill. And then they go research and they say, okay, one side's saying this about the bill. And the other side is saying this about the bill. So you get that balance that, hey, this is the idea of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got a form that's almost point and click online. I support this bill. I don't support this bill.
Yeah.
My further thoughts on this are this. Hey, tell you what, Mr. Representative, I want you to write me back on this. I want to know your opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can send it off. In just a matter of minutes, you've done what a majority of people don't do.
Mm-hmm.
And part of what got me into this is I joined the U.S. Navy in 1987. And I joined as a nuclear field electronics technician, the Navy's hardest school.
Oh, really?
I graduated high school in the 5-year plan.
Hey, no shame on that. At least you got it done.
But I got into the program, and it's designed to weed out the people who are smart,
Yeah.
but not smart in the way they need for that program.
Yeah.
So
yes.
like 90% of my classmates, I ended up dropping out of the program.
Yeah. I'm a mechanical engineer, so they have a couple classes in there that if you fail, a lot of people, once they fail, they don't want to try it out because, let's say, like calculus was pretty difficult. Physics, thermodynamics, that was another one. So those are the classes that kind of weed
And
out.
FAQs.
Yeah, those two, and then also, economics too, engineering economics. That weeded out a lot of people as well too. A lot of people fail. Supposedly, majority of people will fail the first round, then they'll pass the second round. So you said you were going to have a story about the Navy as well too?
Well, yeah. When I dropped out of my A school, I got sent to a small frigate in Mayport, Florida. The ship broke down a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So all we were doing was chasing sailboats in the Caribbean looking for drugs. Now, I think that's a great thing to do, but at 19 years old in 1987,
Yeah.
that's not why I joined the Navy. That wasn't the mission of the Navy that you'd been pumping into my head for the last 6 months.
Mm.
So I turned around and said, I'm going to go write my congressman. And a whole bunch of people on my ship said, you can't do that. I'm like, why? Well, you're in the Navy. I'm like, I can't say I represent the United States Navy, but I did vote for the gentleman a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
But to do that, I had to get off the ship, walk across the base, which was probably about 1.5 miles, to go to the library, to open up the Federal Register, to look into the congressional record, to find where I could write that address to.
Yeah, so it was more difficult.
It was before the day of the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
So I did that. I went back to the ship and I wrote a letter. And then I threw it into the military mail, which means it took about 9 weeks for me to get a response back from him.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got the response back, he said, yeah, no, I didn't agree with this, and I voted against it in this and this. Okay.
I was surprised.
Always cite your references,
I was
right?
surprised you even got a response back.
Well, I was surprised, too. I thought I was just going to go into either.
Yeah.
Well, when I got it back, then I had to get off the ship again and walk to the library to go open the Federal Register and the Congressional Review to go see if what he said he voted on was what he voted on. And have you ever seen what these books look like?
No.
They're like this.
Oh, damn.
So you're trying to find it and cross-reference. And he did.
Okay.
I'm like, okay. And about 4 months later, they finally passed a bill to change the mission of the Navy. But today, that information is still all publicly available. But I don't know if it's as easy to find if you try and go look up what you need to know on the internet.
Yeah.
So what National Write Your Congressman has done is you can go on the bill and you can kind of click down. We're going to give you the summary, but then we'll go to the federal website. We can show you where that bill is,
Yeah.
whether it's entered committee, whether it's not, when it hit the floor. We also tie into the Federal Register so that as your congressman votes, we'll let you know that he voted, and we'll let you know how he voted.
So this is a website that you guys provide. There, I guess you could go if you want to join. You could join it
It's a
through the website.
website and an app.
Okay. So what's the name of the website so the people know? I also put this link below so that way you guys, if you guys are more interested, you guys could dig further, right, guys?
The company website is www.nwyc.com, and there'll also be a bit.ly available so that you can reach out to me and let me know you want me to call you.
Okay, that's good. So once you get the website, you go into the website. What do you expect to see in the website?
Well, you're going to open it up to the front page, which is going to give you what the action alerts coming out right now. Those would be things that are going to be happening real soon in Congress and probably need your attention. We're going to have the top issues of what's going on. You're making me think about what I look at every day.
Well, like right now, the top issues right now, I'm guessing for Texas is kind of like the border wall, energy, as we discussed.
Right now, one of the biggest ones and one of the most contentious ones is the 2017 tax cuts. One of them was for S corps and LLCs. There's a 20% deduction pass through on their income. And that allows them, essentially the first 20% of their income is not going to be taxed.
Yeah, and this is the one that Trump passed, right, when he was in office?
That was done it was done during Trump's administration. That was all passed by Congress.
Yeah.
Trump had to eventually put his signature on it, but
Yeah.
there was enough overwhelming on it that it may have passed even without his signature.
Okay.
Because a lot of people forget that there has to be a majority for a bill to pass to go to the president to be signed.
Yes.
If the president doesn't sign it,
Veto, right?
if he vetoes it, it can still go back to Congress.
Yeah.
And with enough votes, they can still pass it without his signature.
Okay.
Which is why it becomes so important, especially when both sides can't agree.
Yeah.
And
And
people voice their opinion. If they know it's going, whether it's a Democrat or Republican in Congress, if you don't agree with that, well, maybe if enough people get together and say something on this, and the reason it's set up, it's going to be real difficult to get that second vote to get the bill to pass.
yeah.
But that's why we talk about a republic. It's not a pure majority because there's checks and balances.
Yeah.
Port Arthur's a city, Beaumont's a city, but the area we live in is rural.
Yeah.
We have a lot different needs than Houston just down the road.
Yeah, very different. It's just,
And we have different ideas on what's important.
yeah. Well, any big city is different from any like rural area in reality.
And that's part of why we were set up as a republic, because how do you because it's about protecting the freedoms and the rights of everybody.
Yeah.
But when I live in a city of 9 million, on every issue, should my vote of the 9 million be more than whatever's living in the rural areas? Or should there be, what should the balance be?
Yeah. So you're saying that tax break might come to an end, right?
They're voting on it. Biden has not been for them. The Democrats have not been for them. So that may or may not happen.
Yeah.
We are at a place in the House and the Senate, we don't have quite a clear majority if that's what's important to you. But On the same hand, people say that, hey, those tax cuts are no good because we have all these social things and all these expenses to take care of. They have to be paid for somehow.
Yeah.
So that's where that's where the balance becomes is, okay, because my company, we're not Democrat or Republican in what we do. We do our best to remain impartial and just give out the facts.
Yeah. Which nowadays is kind of hard to do that, especially with like regular mainstream media. Either side, you know, you got.
There's so much bias along
Yes.
the board. I took a year of journalism in high school. And the interesting thing I remember most about that class was the instructor was insistent that you never put your opinion in what you consider to be a journalistic article.
Mm-hmm.
You can make your opinion with the facts,
Yeah.
but never state your opinion and then justify them with the facts.
Mm.
Once you cross the board, I see a lot of that. And that makes it real difficult for somebody to come in and say, okay, well, I know this newspaper feels this way, but let's see what they say the facts are.
Yeah.
And I know this newspaper feels this way, but let's see what the facts are.
Mm-hmm.
Because our founder, part of his big deal was he's like, small businesses, people, they don't need to be told what to think. We don't need a group of people to say, okay, this is important, and you need to go write your congressman and say exactly this. Because I may not agree with it.
Yeah.
I talk to conservatives and liberals alike on this, and on both sides I hear, well, the border wall, it's really contentious. From both sides I hear, yes, we should build it, and no, we shouldn't build it.
Yeah.
Not across, I mean, one side may say it more often than the other,
Yeah.
but they both have a mix of feelings on that, and some of the reasons that come up have been really, really interesting to me.
Yeah. Which is crazy because I remember when Obama, when he was president, one thing he kept on praising was, oh, we need to protect the border.
Yeah.
You know, protect the border. I don't know. I think he was saying build a wall too. But then when Trump comes in and says the same thing, it's demonized now. And then right now, we need more protection for
Yeah,
that.
but I had somebody a couple of weeks ago saying, no, I think we need to do something about the border, but I don't agree with the wall all the way across it. And the reason he said that was, my family's got land that crosses over the border.
Mm-hmm.
If you build a fence across the land, the natural migrations of wildlife that take care of that land and keep it healthy can't happen.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I hadn't heard that one before. That's an interesting point on it.
Mm-hmm. I didn't think about that too, but I guess it's a little bit of give and take. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's why the conversation is what are the facts on it?
Mm-hmm.
So much of what we hear these days is to get our emotions rolling and to get us riled up,
Mm-hmm.
without enough of the information to say, okay, is that really? And I'm not talking just about the border, but is that where we need to focus our money, our time, and our resources? Is that going to solve the problem? And where do we get that information to figure out if that stuff is what we want to do?
Yeah, I mean, look how much money we sent to Ukraine and stuff like that. We could probably build 6, 7, or 8 border walls in reality with that money.
Is that a wise spend of our money? Where is that money going? Those are the questions that I think we as Americans really should have answered.
Yeah, because like right now we're like 34 trillion in debt, whatever, which a lot of people can't fathom that number. They probably can't even fathom $1 trillion. So, and then from there, they're projected within 4 years, it might be to 42, 46 trillion dollars a year. I don't see us getting out of that debt. I think the currency is it's in a bubble, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So like I said, the beauty of it is, and the beauty of what I get to do with my job, in enabling people to do this, is I get to hear all sorts of different opinions that make me think just slightly different
Yeah.
on the things that I thought were true.
Mm-hmm. Now, congressmen, they have terms, right? Limits, right?
Yes.
Or they do have term limits, or no?
Well, no, they don't. Well, that people talk about term limits, and there's been a lot of talk. Do we need a constitutional amendment to impose term limits? And in talking with people, a lot of people are very, very, very lit up by it and say, yes, we absolutely need term limits. There is no reason for somebody to spend 30, 40, 50, 60 years into public office.
Yeah, if the president can't do it, then the congressman shouldn't be able to do it as well, too, I believe.
But on the same hand, the only reason they stay up there is because they keep getting elected.
Yeah.
So is that a problem with them staying in office that long? Or is that a problem with their constituency deciding that they're doing a good job or not caring that they're not doing a good job?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of what it boils down to.
Yeah. Or some people probably, if they see a certain person there who's been there for like 2 or 3 years, 2 or 3 terms, and they're running again and say, well, I don't know the other guy. I just going to vote what I've been voting the last couple times.
But, I'm not picking sides on it.
Yeah.
But is that the congressman's fault because somebody's going to keep him
Oh,
in
no,
that position of power,
yeah.
or is it not enough people?
It's more the individuals
involved.
Yeah.
The American Revolution. Do you know how many people were actually engaged in the war?
The American Revolution? I think it wasn't just
Just about 3%.
Yeah, it wasn't that many. Hey, that's all it starts. I mean, that's all it takes to start a revolution.
And it's not even a revolution. It's change.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a small group of people who are well educated. Another interesting thing: the founders of the country. How old do you think they were?
I think George Washington, he was the oldest one, and everybody else were kind of very young.
The average age was about 23.
Yeah. Imagine now, we're now the 23-year-olds right now. They don't even know if they're a guy or a girl nowadays.
And realize that the signers of the Declaration of Independence all knew they were potentially giving up their fortunes, because these were all wealthy men,
Mm-hmm.
and their lives
Yeah.
for change. Because we talk about it in all sorts of parts of our lives. If you want change, there is going to be some pain involved.
Yeah. A lot of pain. Yeah. A lot of drama, a lot of pain, a lot of death going on. That's the only way that things going to change, I guess. You know, even though you don't want it to happen, it's probably going to happen. So with this website, you guys provide an app, right?
Yeah, we got an app on your phone. Oh,
Yeah.
we've got an app on your phone. So literally you can talk into your microphone and dictate a letter to your elected officials.
Yeah, he showed me that, and they actually dictated pretty well
Yeah.
what you said. They're like, wow, that's pretty good. How technology is good. But through that app, you could actually see your congressmen as they vote, right? And how they
Yeah.
voted and passed and everything like that, right?
How they actually voted, and then you click a link and you chew them out or tell them they're really good for what they actually did in voting. Because, when they talk one way to get elected,
Yeah.
and then they vote another when they get up there,
Yeah.
whose responsibility is it to hold them accountable?
Yeah, it's us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we the people.
So you can see all the previous voting there, right?
On the app and that stuff, we go back about 6 years to when we started the app.
Okay, that's when it started.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. And the website is the same things
The
you can
website's
access?
yeah. And actually on the website, you can get a little bit, the app is for easy information. You can get more detailed information when you're on the website.
Okay, and this, you could just see, is it just your congressman, or you could see anybody's?
Well, you're going to see the voting record for any of the congressmen.
Okay, so,
But the way our app is set up, the only ones you're going to be able to communicate with through our app are the ones that you are a constituent for.
okay,
Ones
so,
that you actually elected.
okay, so I can't go troll another congressman, right?
You can't go spam another congressman's
Okay.
inbox.
Oh, man, that would have been fun right there. But what else you think why people should have this program?
As we talked briefly, I've traveled all over the world.
Yeah.
I've lived in a number of different places. I do understand that my country, our country, has some gaping wounds that are oozing pus. There are things that need to be fixed and need to be healed in our country.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact of the matter is, most of the world wants this is the choice of where they want to come for opportunity.
Yeah.
And with that, I want this to be a great place for my kid, for my grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping we can come back together, because there was a time where, as a nation, despite our deep differences, we had an idea of what it was to be America and what it was to be an American. And it seems we have lost a lot of that unity in that national idea.
Yeah.
And I think one is because we're not informed about what's really going on. We'll hear something in the news that will get some people real happy and some people really upset.
Yeah. Well, I think they're trying to divide the country.
But then we never hear what really happens after that.
Mm-hmm.
Trump's proposed a law for this that never passed. Or Biden decided to do this that never actually happened. All we got was the announcement that they were going to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
That information is really important. And it's kind of funny, the internet's created problems that have already happened before.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
In what way?
We have access to all sorts of information that we never had access to now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that happened once before. Any idea when that was?
Let's see. When newspaper first came out?
The
Yes.
1500s. The Gutenberg press.
Oh, so I was right. The press, right?
Well, the Gutenberg press, where they could normal people could access books.
Yeah, yeah.
Normal people
Okay,
could
books.
print books, because before then they were written out by hand.
On stones, right? Yeah.
One point I heard people saying that the reason Bibles were chained to the altars was to keep them out of the hands of people.
Mm.
Do you know why they were chained to the altars?
So people won't steal it?
It
I
took
guess?
about 100 cows to make the hide, to make the pages of the Bible.
Oh, wow.
Did you want somebody to be able to walk off with it?
Yeah, that's true. Huh?
But with the introduction of the Gutenberg press, now all sorts of people who didn't have access could print books that anybody could read.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think all those books were now truthful?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think they all had accurate information?
Especially when you're changing from language to language, you never know what's going to be lost in translation.
And a lot of that's there is so much available on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But even now, I'm a man of faith. I'm a well-educated guy. But when I go on TikTok, boy, I get the things I want to see, and the things that, if I didn't know what I did know, would make me doubt the things I know.
Yeah.
And that's purveyance and so many other things. So I think it's become even more important to be very careful on your sources and cite your references. I had an instructor in college that we all hated. But one of the things he always did was cite your reference.
Yeah.
Where did you get that information from? Where did they get that information from?
Yeah, yeah. I don't even know if they still do that in high school right now. I need to ask my son if they still have to cite their work and stuff. But yeah, like we talked about, like it's very important for us to go out there and vote, right? Especially the people who we vote and make sure we held them accountable for how they vote.
Yeah. Do you have another election upcoming in? I know we've got a runoff in Orange County. Do you have one happening here in Jefferson?
Sadly, I don't even know. That's one thing I need. Like I said, I need to really get more involved into the politics.
Because we've got an election coming off for Covey and Phelan.
Okay.
Because there were 3 candidates and it split the vote so that there was not a 50% or more.
Yeah. Because I guess one would say, like, probably as you get older, you get more into politics because you see how it's affecting you and you know how it's going to affect your kids and your grandkids. You know what I mean? right now the kid's gonna be, or our kid's gonna be stuck in debt forever. I want to say they're just gonna be slaves to the system, pretty much. So, any more information you want to give us out and share it to the people?
I think that's it.
And what was the name of your business?
The business is National Rights Your Congressmen.
All right, guys. I will say go check it out just to see if you guys want to join as well too.
And you can find out more about me at renodouglas.com.
Okay, and he's gonna send me all that information, and I'll put it in the link right there, so that way you guys could do your due diligence and see if you guys want to join his organization and stuff like that. Okay, all right, guys, peace out.